Hi, Mario.
Hello.
Well, so, what do you think of Venezuela?
I can't believe it, what he did.
It's crazy. Crazy.
And now he says he's going to run Venezuela
Yeah,
and take over the oil. That's
right.
stealing it, right?
Well, Chevron has been there for many years. I think one of the things that sparked all this is Chevron, they're giving Chevron a hard time in Venezuela.
Hmm.
It's one thing. But I read some of the comments from people who were happy about it. And one of the guys was a Jewish guy, and he
Hmm.
said that his family's been there for years and years. He's so happy to get rid of him because they probably stole the business from him.
Hmm.
שבוע טוב.
Shua Tov.
Word of,
Harold, it's worse than that. In Guatemala, we have a bunch of families that have to get out of there because they fomented the anti-Semitism there, something crazy.
Well,
So,
what's
hmm.
in Guatemala?
No, in Venezuela,
Oh, Venezuela, yeah.
it became. I mean, both Hamas and Hezbollah had training grounds in that area.
Oh, Venezuela. Wow.
Yeah, and it
Crazy.
became really, really, really challenging for them.
Uh-huh. Wow. Which country
Sad.
is next? Which country is next?
It's not so easy here. It's in the same
Hemisphere, yeah.
hemisphere. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, the one thing that I think is really important is the fact that
The Cubans are going to go bankrupt now.
That's true.
that's very true.
Bad for Cuba, yeah.
But
And
it's
China
also,
too.
to be honest with you, it's also bad for Iran. Iran was getting a lot of money by all the drugs that were coming through.
Aha.
So I think it's going to be interesting all around.
Yeah. I know it was good because Mamdani was upset about it.
Very upset. I had to call him immediately.
You called him, calmed him down. Give him a sedative. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. When even the church on Friday had to come out and say that his recommendations are crazy.
The church said about Mandami, really?
Yeah, because he
Wow.
came out and said how everybody is going to be no longer an individual, but be
Oh,
in the
collectivism.
happiness of the collective.
Yeah, yeah, the warmth of collectivism.
Yep.
I show him a history book. I think he knows what it. I don't think Stalin was so warm.
No, but they don't care about that.
They're going to grab as much as they can for these 4 years.
שבוע טוב, guys.
Hi, Walter.
Hello, how are you?
No,
Good.
we should all speak Spanish now because
All
we
right.
have a new
When are
we
you
have a new
when are you
state.
moving over there to Nicaragua? They could make a lot of money over there, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, you can go now.
Crazy.
I hear it's beautiful. I was never there.
Yeah, no. You'll see people start going there. Tourists will start again there.
Yeah, no one goes there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Hola, Ernie.
Hi, Ernie.
We're all speaking Spanish now. Venezuelan.
Hola a
Hola,
todos.
hola, Ernie.
Hola a todos. Kuf Yud. We're on 110. Mar Savar Kriyas Mon and Milsi. We talked about that if you put 2 pras of ktoires in a kli, so with a half a pras of ktoires in a kli, so the kli sort of finalizes, and unless you offer a half a pras of ktoires outside on the mizbech, you're not going to be chayiv, because the kli designates it as a complete thing. Umar Savarlavnosi, the other mandama that says you're the kli doesn't designate it, implies that even if you put part of the chatzi pras on natzad mizbech, you'd be chayiv. According to the opinion that we said that by putting in a kli, it doesn't really create any halachic significance. Well, then kova shisha lapar. Let's say for different animals, you have to bring different amount of wine as a minchas nesachim. So for a par, you bring 6. For an aisle, you bring 4. For a ram, for a sheep, you bring 3. So kava shisha lapar. If you put 6 lugin in a kli, when we say the kli doesn't sort of finalize it, he took 4 lug and he offered outside chayiv, because it is a designated amount that is offered with the ram. And similarly, let's say he had placed 4 lug of wine in a kli, and he took 3 and he offered it outside, he'd also be chayiv, because 3 is good for a sheep, but less than 3, because we never offer less than 3 lug on the inside mizbech. So if you offer less than 3 lug on the outside mizbech, you're not chayiv. Rav Ashi Omar, no. Torah
Nothing's wrong with the
learning, deriving a halacha from pouring wine versus putting something on the mizbeach, the Rabbanon don't connect those. Even though you can, if we do, they're both offered on the mizbeach bachutz, but Nisa and Aktorah are 2 different activities. You can't learn one from the other. Haktorah Maktorah Yalfi, Afagav, Tifnim, but throwing something on the Mizbeach, whether it's the Mizbeach in the Heichal or the Mizbeach outside, that you can't learn one from another. Kulan Shechatzru, that if somebody, Abe, you may have to mute your thing. Thank you, Abe. Kulan Shechatzru, if the korban has been deficient and you offer that on the mizbech outside, you're not chayiv. So iboilu, chisoron dechutz shmei chisoron, o lo shmei chisoron. If you have a limb that was outside, and you've only offered part of the limb, does that disqualify it or not from chiyuv kares? Mi amin and kivin denofa kiv slulu. That means once you took a limb of a korban outside, it's possible. So mali chaser, mali yoser. Who cares whether it's the right size, not the right size? Oy dilma yoytze di isse be'enein. Or maybe we say, if it's still complete, you might be chayav for burning it, the lesser be'eni lo. But if it does not, if it's not complete, maybe you'd be potter. So Rabbi Toshma, Rabbi Elazar potter at shiakriv is kulam. Rabbi Eliezer was the mandama that said you have to burn the whole thing. If you're deficient, you're potter. Rabbi Baruch Chanan Labaya, mi de Rabbi Elazar poshit mar. We know that Rabbi Elazar is going to hold that way. What about the Chachamim? That ad kam lipli Rabbana le Rabbi Elazar. You know when the Chachamim argued with Rabbi Elazar? When the limb is complete. But if the limb is not complete, maybe they agree to Rabbi Elazar, lav de chosr b'chutz. And Rav is also talking about when it became deficient outside. So maybe even the Chachamim hold your potter. So the Gemara says, no, Rav is talking about the chosr b'fnim. So inside it was roy, and now it became chosr. Now you take it outside, you're going to be chayiv, because at one point it was complete inside. But perhaps it was, if it became deficient outside, it would be potter. So toshma. Kulan shechasru v'krivim b'chutz potter. Any of these korbanos, if they're not shalem, and you offer them on the mizbeach outside, you're potter. Lav the chasr b'chutz. And aren't we talking about a case where it was intact inside, but it became reduced outside? Lo. The chasr b'fnim. We're talking about it already become chasr inside, and that's why it would be potter. Makriv kodshim. We said if the meat is attached to a bone, you're still chayiv. Now why? Amai vayike chatzitza. Since the meat is not touching the mizbech itself, it should be a chatzitza between the mizbech and the kodshim. Amar Shmuel k'shavchan. He's turning it over with tongs, so every part of the korban is touching the mizbech. You could learn that you'd be chayiv even if he didn't turn it. Hamani Rab Shimon. Remember, Rab Shimon was the one who said you don't even have to put it on a mizbech. Just putting it on a stone is enough. So since you'd be chayiv even without a mizbech, there's no inyan of chatzitza. Rav min b'mino ein chatzitz. Listen, bone and meat or fat and meat, at least when it comes to kachim, it's all called min b'mino. It's all the same. And therefore, there's no chatzitza min b'mino. Mishnah. Mincha shloi nikmitza. Normally, a mincha, you have flour and oil in a kli. The Kohen does kmitza. He removes some of it and puts it in another kli. The kmitza is thrown on the fire, and the Kohen eats the remaining flour and oil. That's how a mincha works. What about mincha shaloi nikmitza? You have the flour, nobody did the kmitza, and you took it outside, vikriva bachutz. The din is potter, because you wouldn't be able to burn anything on the mizbeach without the kmitza. Let's say you did the kmitza. Then you throw it back into the original kli. Vikriva bachutz chayiv. Because at least the kmitza is mixed in there. The kmitza is put on the fire. Yeah, but you start off with 2 bushels of flour and you do a little kmitza. You throw it back in, the 2 bushels should be mevatel the kmitza. Amrav Zera nemrak tor b'koimitz v'nemrak tor b'shirayim. Mak tor is koimitz ein koimitz mevatel chaveiro. The kmitza does not become mevatel by another kmitza. Afak tor shirayim af shirayim mevatel koimitz ein shirayim mevatel koimitz. So too the shirayim do not mevatel the kmitza. Now, for some menachos, like the lechem aponim, there was a spice, the levona that was on top of the lechem aponim, and you had to do kmitza, and you had to put the levona on the mizbech, and then the kohanim would eat the lechem aponim. So a koi mitzvah levona shehikriv v'sechad mem bachutz. Now, normally you have to offer both the koi mates and the levona in order to eat the lechem aponim. Let's say you only offered one of them on the mizbeach outside. The Mishnah says chayiv. Well, remember we said that certainly one of the Manda Amrim in the previous Mishnah said that even if you offer part of the korban, you're chayiv. So this would be a go according to that Manda Amrim. And Rabbi Lezer again argues, Poiter Atshi Akrivus Hasheni. You have to offer both in order to be chayiv. What if you offered one inside, echad b'fnim v'echad b'chutz, then chayiv, because now you completed, that would be according to both, the Tanna Kama and Rabbi Lezer. Shnei v'zichi levoina. You have the levona was put in two sort of small kelim. They sat on top of the lechem haponim, and normally you have to offer both of them in order to eat the lechem haponim. Shnei b'zichi levona sheikru v'sechad men b'chutz. You only offered one of them outside. So again, chayiv. And Rabbi Eliezer is going to argue, poiter atshiyah krivus hasheni, you not be chayiv unless you offer both. Again, echad b'fnim v'echad b'chutz chayiv. If one was offered inside and you offered the other one outside, then you'd chayiv for koretz for offering it outside. Boy Rav Yitzchak Nafcho. Koimates mar sheyater kenegdo b'shirayim. So this is a theoretical question by a mincha. In the case where you had to throw the koimates and the levona, and you only threw the koimates, does part of the mincha get permitted to be eaten, mishra shari or klushim miklish? Or it's just, there's a isser to eat the shirayim, so the isser has been weakened, but there's still an isser. Alibidama. Alibid Rab Meir to Omer Mafadlin B'chatzi Matir. So our old friend Pigel, that when you do zrika, and you have in mind that you're going to eat from the korban tomorrow, that's Pigel. Now, there are two matirs by the lechem haponim. There's the koimates and there's the levona. Is it enough to have a machshavas pigul through one of those acts, or do you need throwing both? You have to have the machshavas pigul when you do the kmitza and the levona. So according to Rav Meir, you can create pigul even though you're mafagel in half the matir. The complete matir is the koimetz and the levona. So the koimetz alone is the chatzi matir. So according to Rav Meir, who says b'fadli b'chatzi matir, so mishri shori. So since the kmitza alone has power to make the korban pigul, then when you throw the kmitza, you could say half of the mincha is permitted to be eaten. You don't create pigul if you had the machshava only in one of the matirim. So lo mishri shari v'lo miklish kol, it doesn't do anything. So Ella libid Rab Elazar, he says, remember we said in the Mishnah, if you just offer the kmitza outside, you're not chayv koretz. According to Rabbi Elazar krabonon severely. The Amar ein mefaglim b'chatzi mat. He holds you're not mefaglim b'chatzi mat. And so therefore, we would say that the mincha is not, you're not allowed to eat the mincha. This is not necessarily. We're talking about our Rabbanon, our Mishnah we just learned, who said that if you offer the kmitza alone on a mizbeach outside, you're chayiv karetz. Do we say mishra shori or kolish miklish? Do we say that when you throw the kmitza on the regular mizbeach, maybe half the mincha is permitted to be eaten? Or we say no, the prohibition is still there, it's just weakened. Take no answer. Mishnah. Hazoyrek miktzas bachutz. You did a shchita and you collected the blood in a kli. And you only are zoyrek some of that dam on a mizbeach outside. The Tanna Kama says chai, which is l'chora both according to Rabbi Elazar and the Chacham. Even Rabbi Elazar is going to say l'chora that even a zrika inside he gets, even if you're supposed to offer, let's say, blood on the four corners, and you offer it on one corner, but you have atonement. Here, Rabbi Lezer adds a different halach. Rabbi Lezer oimer afa menasech me'achag b'chag b'chutz chai. One of the avodot on Sukkot was the Nisuch HaMayim. They would pour water on the Mizbeach. So if you do it on Sukkot, outside, you're chayiv karetz. Rav Nechem Yom Yishari Adam Shekriv B'chutz also chayiv. After you do the Zrika Saddam, which you get atonement for a korban, the remaining blood, that's called the Shirayim, is poured on the foundation. It's poured on the Yisod. According to Rav Nechemia, therefore, if you offer the Shiorei Adam on a Mizbeach outside, you're chayiv karetz. Amar Rav. Umoide Rabbi Lezer b'dami. That up until now, Rabbi Lezer seems to have argued with the Chachamim on everything. That the Chachamim said even if you offer some of the Toires, you're chayiv. Rabbi Lezer says, no, you need to offer all of it. And the Chachamim said if you offered some of the limb of a korban, you're chayiv. And Rabbi Lezer said, no, you need to do everything. Here, it seems that Rabbi Lezer agrees to the Chachamim that if you offer any of the dam, you'd be chayiv. Why? It's not. Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim. So we have on Yom Kippur where you have to pair up two goats. You sent one lazazel and the other one you shechted. And let's say one of the goats after you shechted it died. So you have to shecht another one. And you don't start all the way from the beginning. You now start from where you ended off. You don't have to repeat the other things. So it looks like every blood application to the mizbech works. So even according to Rabbi Lezer, offering some of the dam on the mizbech outside will make you chayiv karetz. And then Rabbi Lezer oimer. During Sukkot, when you're supposed to pour the water on the Mizbeach for Nisuch HaMayim, if you poured the water on the Mizbeach outside, you'd be chayiv karetz. Rav Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Nachum Yudfa. Rabbi Lezer b'shitas Rabbi Akiva Rabbi Amba. Rabbi Lezer is following his Rabbi Akiva. The Amar Nisuch HaMayim D'Oraisa. Rabbi Akiva held that pouring the water on Sukkot was a D'Oraisa, not Rabbana, the Tanya. Rabbi Akiva Oimer. It says unsacheha. It's multiple libations. Bishnei Nisuchim HaKosav Medaber. Echad Nisuch HaMayim, ve'echad Nisuch HaYayim. So Rabbi Akiva holds that pouring the water is directly D'Oraisa. So therefore, the Gemara is assuming that Rabbi Lezer, who's holding you chayiv, if you pour the water outside, it's because d'oraisa. So that's the way Rav Yochanan learned. Amar le Reish Lakish Rav Yochanan. Imala halan shloishes lukin. Well, there is a minimum amount of volume of wine libation, which is 3 lugin. So afkan shloishes lukin. So there should be a minimum amount for the water. Varav Lezer me'achag ka'omar. Me'achag, he didn't say a shear. Means any amount. Meaning less than 3 lugin. That seems to be going against what we said about his connection to Rabbi Akiva. I'll ask another kasha, says the Gemara. Imalal b'shayim osashana. Now, we poured wine on the Mizbeach in the Beis HaMikdash every day, not just Sukkot, because there was Minchas Tesachim offered almost every day. Because Minchas Tesachim went along with Oilas HaTamid, it went along with many other korbanos. So pouring wine on an external mizbeach, you're not just chayiv on Sukkot, you're chayiv every day. So if you're going to connect the Nisach HaMayim to the Nisach HaYayin, why did Rabbi Elazar say that you're only chayiv if you did it on Sukkot? Avkan b'shayim Hashana. For the Nisach HaMayim, you should also be chayiv if you did it any day of the year. And Rabbi Elazar b'chad kama. Yet Rabbi Elazar said it only during Sukkot. So obviously, Rabbi Elazar is not following his Rabbi Kiva in this halacha. So Reish Lakish gives another alternative. Ishtamitza had the Amar Rabbi Asi. The previous Amiroim had forgotten what Rav Asi had taught. The Amar of Asi, Amar Rav Yechnan, Ishim Rav Nechunya Ish Bikas Beitz Chortan. Eser Netiyas, when you plow and plant 10 trees, and the din of Arava, leaning the Arava on Sukkos, V'nisach HaMayim is halach l'Moshe Sinai. It's not a standard d'oraisa. It's halach l'Moshe Sinai. So there is a source, but it's not the same source as Rabbi Kiva. And Rabbi Elazar is relying on that source, which doesn't require him to agree with the other issues, like you could use less than 3 lugin, and it's only chayiv on Sukkos. Ton Rabban. So the Tanna Kama holds, if you pour 3 lug of water on an outside mizbeach during Sukkot, you're chayiv chatas. Rabbi Elazar, Oimer, imilan l'shem chag chayiv. He's chayiv if he had miskadesh this mayim in a kli, and then he threw it outside. Then you're chayiv. The question is, my binayu. What really is the difference between Tanna Kama and Rabbi Elazar? Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak b'yesh shir b'mayim kamifluki. Do you need 3 lugin or not? Both Rabbi Elazar and the Tanna Kama hold that you need at least 3 lugin. But the shaila is there a maximum? According to Tanna Kama, there's no maximum. Or Rabbi Elazar has to measure exactly 3 lugin. Okay. We will be learning Sefer Esther tonight.